testimony she's about to present in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and lower your hand. Good morning.
Morning.
You do not want to be here today, do you?
No, sir.
That's fair. We've subpoenaed you to come in from Alabama, is that right?
Yes, sir.
If you would, state your full name for the record and spell it for us.
Ted Wiley, T-E-D-L-W-Y-L-I-E.
Go ahead and scoot up and pull the microphone down towards you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wiley, I'm not trying to embarrass you or do anything, but you know why you're here today.
Yes, sir.
And you understand it's a murder case, and that's why we've asked you to be here.
Yes, sir.
Do you see Melody Walker Farris in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Would you point out, please? She's sitting over here in the black.
Yes,
That's black. How old are you today, sir?
60.
And when did you first meet the defendant?
It's probably been maybe 85,
And
86, something like that.
When did you meet Gary's sister, Sherry Farris?
Around that same time.
And how long were you and Sherry Farris in a relationship?
Probably 20 years.
During that time, did you meet the defendant?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all ride horses?
Move the. No, I'm not talking about
Okay.
this. Let's move the easel so the juror can see. Just back it up.
Yeah.
If y'all need to pull it out.
All right, Mr. Wiley, you got a soft voice. If you speak in that microphone so we can hear you. So you met the defendant through Sherry Farris, is that how?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all ride horses together or things like that?
We have.
And where did y'all first meet? Was it in Georgia or was it somewhere else?
No, we would see each other at Christmas and birthdays and Thanksgiving and things at Sherry's mother's.
Now, again, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but at some point did you have a romantic relationship with the defendant?
Yes, sir.
And when did that start?
I can't tell you the exact dates, but it was probably in 2008 or 10, somewhere in that range.
And when y'all would meet and come together, where would y'all meet?
But she's usually coming through town, either going to her friend Sheila's Hutchinson's home, or she would be going to visit her mom at the hospital.
And how long did this romantic affair go on?
Probably 3 or 4 years.
And during that time, do you know whether or not Gary knew about the relationship?
I don't think anyone actually knew about it ever until this happened.
And it was after this that it came out.
I think it did. Then they had were suspicious and things, but I don't think that they actually knew. They had no knowledge of it.
And to be clear, it was an intimate relationship more than just friends. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
How many times do you think, how often would you see each other when y'all were together, you and the defendant?
We would see each other at that particular time. Before that time, we'd only see each other Christmas and Thanksgiving, but at that time, we might see each other twice a month.
Would y'all meet in motels, hotels, or somewhere else?
We did a time or two.
Would she come to your house and stay at all?
She did.
Was there a time when you remember that she separated from Gary and spent more time with you?
She did. She never stayed more than like a week or something like that. But we were snowed in one time, and her friend Sheila stayed with me. And so, anyway,
Was that Sheila or Sherry?
Sheila Hutchinson was
Okay.
her friend.
Were you ever confronted by anybody about the affair?
No, sir.
Gary never said anything to you?
He did not know. He had suspicion maybe at the end.
Now, you've heard us talk about the $50,000 loan or whatever you want to call it. Are you familiar with that idea?
I wasn't involved in that. I don't know about that.
What I want to ask you, though, is during the time did the defendant write you checks for things?
She did help me with payroll once or twice.
And how much money during that time did she give you?
It was a few $1,000s to make payroll.
Would it be closer to $10,000 or closer to a few $1,000s?
It could have been 6,000 or 8,000, somewhere like that, to make payroll.
Okay. And that was in 2000, I believe 2009? Would that be right?
I'm thinking so.
Is it true though that she did write you several checks that were worth several $1,000s?
Yes, sir.
And you said it was for payroll. Tell us about that.
I have a building company. I had a building company at that time.
Did you ever use that money for anything with Kay Walker, her mother?
I'm sure I probably did.
Did you ever say it was for that, but it was for something else?
I don't think that I don't think that I did.
So, is it closer to 10,000 or closer to 15,000? What do you remember?
I'm sure it's closer to 10 than 15. I don't know that.
And she would write you personal checks for this?
She has. She has.
How many checks do you think she's given you in any shape or form? How many checks has she
Probably
written?
not more than 2 or 3.
Do you know if she ever had more money than that?
She told me that she did. I think it was maybe when she was handling her mother's affairs or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Did she tell you whether or not she took that out of the account that she and Gary had over the house or something?
I don't remember all that now. I don't remember that.
How much money do you remember her having independently from Gary when they separated?
I don't know about her finances and things.
How long was she separated that you know of where she was not with Gary during this time?
I think it might have been maybe a month. I don't know that for a fact.
You don't know exactly how long it was?
No, sir. Like I said, she would come into town and then she would go on to her friend Sheila's house or something along those lines, or go somewhere else.
And was she coming up, was it under the guise that she was there to visit her mother, help her mother, but she was seeing you?
Oh, she was helping her mother. Her and Sheila helped her mother get healed up. She had heart surgery and got her back, on the mend.
But she would come up and see you too?
Yes, sir.
And are you saying that the affair itself lasted for 3 years or more than 3 years?
I would say somewhere around the 3 to 4 year mark.
Closer to the 4 maybe?
Maybe so. I didn't keep up with that.
Did she ever tell you that Gary was, because of this, started to control the finances or do anything from the finances?
I think he did that all along.
And did she talk about how she did not have money except for what Gary would give her?
We didn't talk about money much.
She talked about leaving Gary at any time?
She did say he served her with divorce papers, or was serving her with divorce papers.
And you knew that was because of y'all's relationship?
I don't know that it was because of our relationship.
Did you ask?
I did not.
You kind of just let it be?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know whether or not that was followed through or anything?
I don't know.
Now, when did it end?
Probably 4 years. I think it was 4 years before this happened.
This was in July of 2018, so y'all's relationship was over in about 4 years before?
Yes, sir.
So, 2018.
I just didn't hear from her. I don't know that it was over. I just didn't hear from her anymore.
It just kind of dissipated?
Yes, sir.
So about 4 years before 2018, so sometime around 2014 is when your relationship with the defendant stopped?
I hadn't seen her or talked to her before that.
So since 2014, give or take, have you had any communication with the defendant?
I talked with her. She came into town one time after Gary passed.
And that's it?
Yes, sir.
So you understand one of the reasons I have you here is that your name was brought up in the investigation as a former, if you would, boyfriend of the defendant.
Yes.
And so I want to make sure I'm shrinking the world. I want to make sure the jury hears this from you,
yes,
and they
sir.
see you. In July, This is Riley 1. This is calendar July 2018. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Can you positively look at this jury and tell them that in July of 2018, you didn't step a foot into the state of Georgia?
Yes, sir.
Did you have anything whatsoever to do with and I'm not saying you are, I just want to hear from you. You didn't have anything to do with what happened to Gary? You know anything about what happened to Gary?
No, sir.
You weren't even in the state?
No, sir. I was not.
Did you have any communication with the defendant or anybody in her family about what happened?
No, sir.
It's not till we contacted you, someone from the district attorney's office years ago, I think, reached out to you?
Well, I think I talked with Sherry about that. That was about it.
So if this occurred, it did occur in July 2018. Gary was killed in July 2018. When was the last time you were physically, in any shape or form, in the state of Georgia?
It'd have to be 4 years before that.
Nothing else, young.
True.
Mr. Wiley,
Yes, sir.
my name is John Luke Weaver, and I, along with Michael Ray, represent Melody.
Judge, I apologize. The juror just indicated to me that she couldn't hear me speaking microphone.
Scoot up, speak up.
Yes, sir.
Again, my name is John Luke Weaver, and I represent Melody. Got a few questions for you on timeline. So you guys were together, you think, between 2007 and maybe 2010?
Something like that.
Something like that, because you said 14, but it'd be more like 2007 to 2010. Right?
Probably so.
Okay, all right. And the state mentioned something about some money that Melody loaned you $6,000 to $8,000, and you paid it back to her, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm just going to ask you. I mean, y'all didn't really talk about Gary at all, did you?
No, sir.
And Gary never had any crosswords with you at all
Never.
about any of this.
Never.
And y'all didn't talk about it at all.
Never.
Any of her kids have any crosswords with you ever? Scott or Chris?
No, sir.
And so really you hadn't seen Melody since 2010. It's been about, 14 years?
Yes, sir. I'm guessing that's correct.
Somewhere in there?
Yes, sir.
And it just fizzled out?
We just didn't. We just went different ways, I guess.
Nothing, y'all didn't talk about Gary or anything to do with Gary?
No, sir.
Okay. If I may have a few moments, Judge. That's all, Judge.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
All right, you can step down. Thank you, sir.
The judge may be released.
Go ahead. That's fine.
Okay.
Call our next witness.
Judge, we call Christine Lavoie.